My heart stopped for a second. In the distance, a castle towered over the rest of the landscape. With each crack of thunder and spear of lightning, the gigantic, fleshy structure was silhouetted in the shadows. Purple clouds hovered over the fortress. It stretched a mile or two wide. In the center was a spire that rose into the sky, almost up to the clouds. Everything went black for a second. With the boom of thunder, a blue lance shot across the sky and lit up the castle again. At the top of the tower was a bulbous yellow eye. A dark pupil sat in the middle. The eye blinked and everything went dark again. The castle brought back all the memories of my fighting days in Oklahoma. The last time I'd seen one of these fortresses was out in the sprawling oaky countryside. Another freedom fighter once said to me, "They make them castles 'cause they're trying to show us who's king now." Afterwards he chuckled, cracked his neck and said, "I show them who's king." Well, the next day I found his body on the battlefield in 6 different pieces. My Humvee's headlights illuminated the road ahead of me. Rats scurried across the street. Rain beat against the windows. I had flashbacks from the day before. The sound of thunder replaced the singing of the cannons, and the rain was the dull drone of gunshots. I reached the edge of the parking lot. The movie theater was decaying. Moss and lichens draped the cracking walls like Christmas tinsel. 2 letters were still left hanging on the side. "TH," they read. The rest had fallen and shattered on the pavement. I rolled to a halt by the front entry doors. Vines dangled from the overhang. I paused for a moment, then a distant scream echoed in my mind. Another flashback. Another mutilated corpse. I threw the Humvee into park, stole the key from the ignition and lifted my helmet onto my head, turning on the night vision. I stepped out of the Humvee. The world shaded green by night vision. Fleshy tentacles tickled the air, sticking out from behind an abandoned hover speeder in the parking lot. When I blinked, the tentacles were gone. My insides were wriggling like worms. I shivered. My knees tickled like they might buckle and give out if I hallucinated the tentacles again. Locking the Humvee behind me, I entered the theater. A blurred figure stood in the distance, by the snack bar, obscured by the helmet's low-quality optics. I felt my skin flaring when I noticed him at first. I turned off the night vision and switched on my headlamps. His figure had lost most of its muscle now. When I first met him, when I was 4, he was tall and his muscles were bulging. The man who stood there was a skeleton now. He held a mouldy paper cup in his hand, eyeing it down behind the mask of his helmet. "Maybe cut the lights," he whispered, his voice echoing across the theater. "Oh, right," I said. "Sorry." I heard his footsteps as he approached me, reaching out a hand to shake mine. I gripped it and shook, looking into the mask that covered his face. Its appearance was distorted through the night vision, but I could see markings and paintings over his suit of armor. A rifle was slung over his shoulder, and he wore a bandolier stocked with grenades and flares. "It's been a long time," I grinned. "Only been 4 years, he shrugged, snickering. "How's that drink?" I asked. He scoffed. "Still good." He chucked the cup behind him. It splashed as it landed on the carpet. "Maybe keep it down," I joked. Piss off," he mumbled. "Christ, how I've missed you. How have you been?" "Oh, I've been good. At least I'm doing better than how we did in our Oklahoma days. How have you been?" "Oh, Jesus, don't remind me about Oklahoma. Fucking massacre. How do you expect me to be doing? We're at war." He patted me on the shoulder then. I threw my arm around his neck and we began to walk towards the snack counter. "Well, I see you're still the same man, at least in your head. Where'd all your muscles go?" "I've lost it. Times have been rough." "Really?" "I know we're fighting in the same state now, but you haven't seen the shit happening by Omaha. Did you see that stronghold out there? One with the massive eye? I took my arm off him. He jumped over the counter, as did I. Yeah, the one with the frickin' eye. You know how many attack runs we've done on that thing? Not sure I want to know. You're scaring me just talking about it. We've done 23. 23 fucking raids. My jaw dropped, and I spun around to look at him. You can't be serious. I mean, we only did 5 on that one in Oklahoma. Yeah, that's what I told my commander, he exclaimed, shaking his head. I sniffed. There was mold growing in the back of the popcorn machine. The glass was shattered, leaving behind a thin metal frame. I imagined it being full of butter-scented, fluffy popcorn. More flashbacks. This time ones of childhood memories. Skateboarding downtown. Lifting in the mornings before soccer. Getting stranded on a country road at 3 a.m. Remember that time we got kicked out of a movie theater with Martin and Xander? I asked. He turned to me. I tried to imagine what he looked like beneath the helmet's mask. I hoped there was a smile underneath that. Was that the time when you launched a bowlful across the theater, and then you and Xander started fighting with it? And then came the usher. You goddamn idiots, he sneered. Oh, let's hear about all the bright ideas you've had then. Not getting kicked out. I froze, and then I snickered to myself. I guess you and Martin were the smarter of us four. I stepped over a pile of glass, watching a spider crawl along the wall. Very observant of you. I'm a very observant person, I said. The spider trundled towards a drink dispenser. Just as I've observed this drink machine. I pointed at it. Fascinating, would you not agree, my acquaintance? He coughed and shook his head. Like I said, you and Xander, goddamn idiots. Observe, comrade, I said, reaching out a hand. I pressed the black plastic lever that extended down from one of the soda dispensers. The lever snapped as a dollop of frigid slush splashed out of the machine. It coated my leather glove in muck. I cursed, tore my hand away, and shook off the goop. He chuckled for a moment, his arms crossed, leaning against the countertop. There was a spider making its way across the front of his helmet. There's a spider. I know, he said, smacking it and then shaking his gloved hand. Listen, man, I've got a lot to tell you, and it's not exactly good news.